Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and in today's video what we're going to be doing is this right here. So if that looks interesting to you guys, please carry on and watch the video. And also one more thing before we get into the video, if you enjoy what I do here, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. It really helps me out and lets me know you enjoy the video. But with all that out of the way, let's get into that video. Okay, so today we're going to be painting up a Barlgura, and this here is from the WizKids miniatures line, and so it's already pre-primed, so we don't have to worry about priming that. And our Barlgura here is a demon from the Nine Hells, and this here is a orange and blue sort of gorilla demon, so I want to try and mimic that as close as I can to the official artwork that the Barlgura has in 5th edition. So to start off with that, I'm going to use orange here for the base tone. For this here I'm using a contrast paint, and this here is gryph hound orange. You could go with a similar paint if you have one here. I want to go with a nice ease of starting off with the fur with a contrast paint to get all our shadows in there as well, because it sort of counts as part of a wash, so we can get some different tones of color there. That's why I've started off with a contrast paint here, and since it's already pre-primed I can apply that straight away, and since we've got that in a light grayish white prime, it's going to come out perfectly for our contrast paint. Okay, so now we have all the fur painted up. What we're going to do now is we're going to come in with our blue, and I'm going to be using Cantor blue for this, and this is a nice deep dark blue here, and I'm going to be using this of course as our base tone for our skin of our Barlgura here. And basically I'm going to be painting this everywhere you can see that isn't the loincloth over the Barlgura. So everywhere, so we want to paint up the hands, all the muscles on the inside, the legs, everywhere like that. We want to be painting in our Cantor blue here, nice dark blue to use as the base tone layer for all of this. So we'll be eventually highlighting it up with those details popping out when we do the layering. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come in with a wash, and this here is going to be Seraphim Sepia, just a nice light toned wash, and I'm going to be applying this to our fur area. So we already applied a contrast paint over here, which is going to give us our shadows and highlights anyway as the paint does, but I want to add in a little bit more deepness into those shadowed areas, especially between the fur and that, just to define them a little bit more. So that's why I'm coming over with a wash, so I can get that nice intense shadowed area. So just a nice sepia tone here to just pick them out just slightly and emphasize those shadows just a little bit more. Okay, so now we have that wash completely dry. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with a bright orange here. In this case I'm using mythical orange, and this here is a very yellow like orange, so very very bright in contrast against the already orange we have on here. As you can see, it immediately looks like it's yellow rather than orange, but trust me, it's orange more in real life than it is when we're applying it here on camera. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going around the model and picking out a lot of these raised tufted areas of fur with our mythical orange. Now this orange is very very thin, so I'm going to have to build it up slowly in layers, but that's okay because I want to add different intensities to places with our highlighting step. So some places I'll leave with maybe 1 or 2 coats on there, so it's just got a little bit of transition, and some I'll build up a lot more so you can see that transition a bit more and give us some varied interest in our fur. Maybe a little bit hard to see on camera here, but you will definitely be able to see it in the final product with different levels of intensity into the fur. Okay, so now we have those tufts of fur picked out. We've got some nice interesting detail on that fur. What I'm going to do now is come in with a lighter blue. In this case I'm using crystal blue here, which is a lot brighter than our Cantor blue here, and I'm going to be using this as the highlighting step for our muscle definition. Now this WizKids model has really good definition on here, with all the muscles being presented as this Barlgura is sort of coming up for a slam attack, and they've really come up with a great way to show off all of the nice intense detail onto the muscles. So you've got some nice interesting raised textures and easily defined muscle groups that you can see, so you can nicely pick them out for layering up like this, and it's going to look nice and effective as we're going through picking them out.
Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down, they want to rise up while you drown.
Okay, now we have those areas picked out, and you can see it looks really really effective. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with a blue wash, and this is to tie them to colors together and sort of blend the transition. Now, this is one thing that I sort of realized in hindsight, is I maybe should have thinned the blue wash down just a little bit rather than using it straight from the pot, as it did blend them very, very closely together. But that's fine. We're still going to come up and highlight another layer up with our skin texture anyway in the next step. So it's not too bad of a loss here, but just keep this in mind if you're doing the same sort of thing, is maybe you just want to dilute some of the wash down just a little bit. You don't always have to use a wash in its full intense strength every time. Then once we have that wash completely dry, what I'm doing is I'm coming with a different blue now. This here is electric blue. This is an even lighter blue than we used before, and I'm going to be using this for our final highlight in our skin. Now, as you can still see those nice highlights we already put on in the previous step. They're quite blended together, since our blue tone was a little bit darker than I was expecting. I was hoping for a little bit less, so I should have thinned down our wash, but that's okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to be a little bit more intense with our highlights here, and I'm just going to come around picking out smaller areas so you can see that area where we placed our last highlight and our wash over top. We had them blended together nicely. This time I'm going for, with this highlight especially, is I'm going in between those areas, picking it out smaller and smaller each time, but I'm going to keep it nice and intense. I want this to be super vibrant with the highlight layer on here, and I want to make it sort of real vibrant and poppy. So I'm not worrying about trying to blend it together or anything. I want it super like comic book sort of style and really bright and vibrant. So it's just a matter of going around and picking out nice thinner areas in between the highlights we've already done, just picking out the very highest sort of points. Then once we have that complete, you can see we've got some nice vibrant and poppy skin. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the loincloth here, and I'm going to be using rigid leather to do this. Nice simple plain brown. I just want to keep it, you know, nice simple traditional. I want to pull all that focus towards our nice vibrant blue and orange paint scheme we have on here, and really focus onto those nice definition on all that muscles really popping out, so it looks big, scary and intimidating. But like I said, we just want to go over with the rigid leather and paint up his loincloth. Okay, so then once we've got his loincloth painted up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with monster brown. This is a lot lighter brown, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to come in with a sort of rougher brush that I've used, and I'm just going to come in and stipple in some of the areas with our lighter brown, just giving it some interesting texture along the way. So just coming in, stippling it randomly, giving it some sort of interesting look into the whole piece, and just giving that a nice good stipple cover. Now I'm not trying to paint the whole entire thing here, I'm just going through sort of giving it like leopard spots or cow spots, something like that, just picking out random places that I want to enhance, aiming more for like the middle and the highlighted point, sort of like treating it like a highlight. And you can see here I'm going around the edges where it would naturally be sort of frayed and ruffled up, to try and give it a sense of it being worn in. Then once we have that stippling complete, what I'm going to do now is come in with some Agrax Earthshade, and this of course is a nice simple brown wash, so any brown wash will do here, and I want to give that wash all over the entirety of the loincloth here. And what it'll do is, since we've got those nice super bright points that we were stippling in our previous step picking out, this wash is going to tone it down and bring it all together and make it look like subtle wear and tear onto the loincloth. Anyway, that's my intention, so we'll see how that comes out, but that's my idea anyway, to try and make my leather look a little bit more interesting. Then once we have that complete, what we're going to do is we're going to come in with some brassy brass, and we're going to use this to be painting up his, what would you call them, bracelets, sort of shackles, his braces, whatever these are supposed to be holding in this Barlgura. I'm not quite sure if it's, I'm not 100% sure on my Barlgura lore here, but he has these nice sort of golden slash brass braces on him there that I'm guessing tie him to sort of like the 9 hells or something like that, or it can be used, I know these can be used a lot in summoning monsters when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, so maybe it's to do with the summoning. Either way, it's a cool little feature in that, and I want to highlight it there with some metallic, so we're giving it a good overall coat with brassy brass. Okay, so now we've got those braces painted up. What we're going to do now is come in with a wash, and this is going to be Reikland Fresh Shade. I'm going to place this over the wash, tinting it just slightly red, because as you can see, they are very tied in closely with the color of the fur there, so you're going to try and separate them out a little bit, so giving them a different colored wash can help with that. And of course we want to be careful to avoid any pooling, because we don't want too much of it to pull in the areas of the fur where it'll start mixing with those colors, so being careful to watch it as it's drying. So then I felt like the brass was sort of a little bit too close in colour, so I wanted to give it a little highlight to pop it up just that little bit more and separate it out a little bit. So I'm going to come in with a gold to do this, and I'm just going to go in and pick out all those little segments in between on those nice little braces there, and picking out all the edges like that, just bringing that colour up just a lot more to more of a gold, and hopefully that'll stand out a little bit more. If you were doing this, maybe you want to go with a completely different color, maybe you want to go with a silver, or maybe like iron braces, something to separate it out, because it does look a little similar to the actual orange fur there, since we've got a lot of oranges and yellows, and gold of course is sort of a yellowish color, so it can blend in there a little bit here. But like I said, I wanted to go with as close to the official artwork as I could, and he has sort of like brass gold sort of braces on there, so that's why I'm trying to imitate it as much as I can. But if you want to totally go for like a dark iron or something, I think that could be very cool. It'd be very contrasty, but like this, I want to keep the focus more to the actual body of the miniature itself rather than the braces. Okay, so now we're done with the braces, we're going to come in with our final step, and this is to add some warp lightning, which is a contrast paint, to the eyes of our Barlgura, giving it some nice green eyes. Now, I wasn't entirely happy with the green of the warp lightning. I think it was just a little bit too dark and it was a bit hard to see on camera. So what I ended up by doing was I still kept the green in the eyes, but I just added some white little pupils to there, giving it that menacing look later on, as you'll see into our glamour shots that we'll move on to now, so you can see the final thing in all its glory. And there you have it. With all that completed, we have finally finished painting up our Barlgura from the Dungeons and Dragons line of miniatures by wizkids. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, whether you want to follow along with what I did here, or you just want to use the video as some inspiration in painting up your own miniatures. But with all that said, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.